Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Hello Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nidai Gaura Hari Bol Hadaje Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Hari Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavat Gita Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Jai Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Jai Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Jai Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan. Jai Jai Sachinandan Gaura Hare. My Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jai Jai Lalita Vishakha Radhe Sham, Lalita Vishakha Jaya Radhe Sham. Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai 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 Gurudev, 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 Jai Gurudev. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Jai Jana Ranjana. Jaya Jashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajagacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad Srila Bhai Charanand Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se Koho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Rani Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinama Sankirtana Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Samsthapak Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Shri Krishna Balarama Ki Jai. Shri Lalita Vishakha Sahita Radha Shyam Sundar Ki Jai. Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Achanam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Anandalilamaya Vigrahaya Hemabhadivyatchavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Swikuryat Kripaya Yadi Tadaiva Sampayah Pitva Hrishayustat Priyajanaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, thank you all very much for kindly inviting me to come and speak a few words about Krishna consciousness tonight, here in this most sacred place of Sri Dham, Vrindavana. Do we need translation? Everybody knows English. So, on short notice, I came. Mostly you don't have gray hair yet, but when you do have gray hair, then it's difficult to do certain things. And it's difficult for me to stay up late. Late for me means after 7 or 8 o'clock. So anyway, in service to all of you, I'm trying to say a few words, and I hope I can speak something appreciable tonight. Having already recited Mangala Charanam and prayed for the mercy of our gurus and deities, I thought it might be a nice idea to speak something that you may not have heard before from our great Acharya, Rasa Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Rupa Goswami Pada. And he didn't write, but he compiled an anthology of ancient Sanskrit verses. In the 16th century, these verses were ancient. Padyavali, he called it. It's a famous book. Some of you may be familiar already. So in text 19 of that book, he glorifies the holy name. And in 7 ways, just like we have heard in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshastika, 7 things about the holy name, in the first verse only. Cheto darpanam arjanam, bhavamahanav davagni navapanam, shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam, vidyavadhu jivanam, anandam buddhivarjanam, pratipadam purnamrta svadanam, sarvatmasnapanam. These are the 7 things. So similarly in this verse, from an anonymous poet, Rupa Goswami has simply quoted from one of his unknown predecessors, we hear 7 things about the holy name that glorify it. There are a few commentaries on Padyavali. None of them are published, as far as I know, in any language other than Sanskrit. But I thought maybe we can review some of the notes of Virachandra Goswami. Virachandra Goswami is a contemporary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He wrote his commentary on Padyavali, and it's available. Actually, it is published in Bengali language. So anyway, Kalyananam nidhanam kalimala mathanam pavanam pavananam Patheyam yan mumukshoho sapadi padapada praptaye prochamanam Vishramasthanam ekam kavivaravajasam jivanam sajjananam Bijam dhanamadrumasya prabhavatu bhavatam bhutaye krishnanam. He says, may the holy name of Krishna, which is a repository of auspiciousness, that destroys the filth of this Kali Yuga, and is the purifier of all purifiers, and which, for those seeking liberation, is declared as the provision for quickly attaining a transcendental position, and which is the life of the virtuous, the one repose, in the words of the greatest poets, and the seed of this tree of dharma. May that holy name of Krishna grant you all good fortune. So, the 7 things are, number 1, Kalyananam Nidhanam. This holy name that we've been chanting, it is the repository of anything and everything auspicious. Let me just review the commentary here, because he explains quite a few things. With this anonymous poet beginning Kalyananam, this author illustrates, for those of us who are aspiring to perform bhajan, it's not so easy thing to perform bhajan. Not so easy. You have to fix your mind, and you have to develop a taste somehow, and it's not so easy. You might have noticed when we begin to chant, especially japa, the mind will wander. And yato nishchalati manas, you know the verse. Somehow and fix it on the holy name. So for those who are aspiring to perform this bhajan, he is illustrating the glory of the holy name, 7 glories of the holy name, which we've just mentioned. the holy name as Lord Krishna, who is the repository of all auspicious qualities. Kalyana Gunarnava, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. Every morning we're singing, our spiritual master's mercy is essential for those of us who are burning in the fire of Mumbai or wherever we come from. It is like that. And the spiritual master is like a cloud that sprinkles the rain of mercy upon us in the form of his instructions. And the foremost of all the instructions of the spiritual master is his instruction to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Fear. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, he's glorifying the holy name as the repository of all good qualities, and he solicits the blessings of the holy name upon all of us. So two things. He's glorifying Krishna's name, and he's soliciting Krishna's name may bless all of us. Prabhavatu bhavatam bhutaye Krishna nama. May this holy name give you all bhuti. Bhuti means good fortune or auspiciousness. So how is it that this holy name is providing us with all auspiciousness? Kalyana. Kalyana means the original cause of anything that is auspicious. Kalyananam nidhanam, or the repository of anything that is auspicious. Why is it the most auspicious thing? Because even without going through so many mantras and without the purification of purascharana and so much discipline and tapas and all these things that we may do to purify our hearts, even without that, the holy name immediately purifies us. Here he points out, and not only purifies us, but also this holy name bestows upon us the results of pious acts that we haven't even performed. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam drishavrataha. Krishna says, for those who are interested in performing drishavrata bhajan, strict bhajan, then you have to be pious. Otherwise it's not so easy, not possible. All of you are more pious than me. It's hard for most people born in the world outside of India. You have to understand it's very difficult. They're not pious. Bharata bhumite hoilo manusya janma jar janma sharthak kori kora par upakar. Ye Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ka upadesh hai. Or someone who has taken birth in India, you should understand you have a responsibility. Because you have knowledge of karma and reincarnation and any idea of dharma. In other countries, people have no idea of what is dharma. Even if Indians have the wrong idea, and they do, but they have some idea at least. In North Korea, there's no understanding of dharma whatsoever, no conception of God. When we first translated Srila Prabhupada's books into Chinese, what to do? How do you struggle with this concept, Supreme Personality of Godhead? They had to settle for something that means like, the topmost emperor. That's the best you can do in China. So just imagine, we have no idea. Therefore, janma sarthak kori. Make your life fruitful. And how do you do that? By embracing this holy name wholeheartedly, taking it deep inside. Jegoranga madhurililo, jare karne proveshilo, antar nirmol bhelotar. Narottam Das Thakur has said, the name of the Lord should come through the ear and not go out the other ear. It should come down into the heart. When it sits in the heart, what happens? You should know it. Shrindatam Sukata. Yes. There's another one also, that pungsam kalikritan doshan dravya deshatma sambhavan sarvan harti chittasto bhagavan purushottama. All the things that can be faulty in our consciousness, 3 types. Dravya sambhava dosha. You have maybe some bad facilities to work with. Maybe you've got a body that doesn't work, or maybe you're not entirely sane, or maybe you're blind, or maybe you're poor, or maybe you're just too busy, and so many things that can go wrong in this world. That's called dravya sambhava dosha. Desha sambhava dosha. We've already mentioned, if you happen to be born in Pakistan, or maybe in, as I mentioned, North Korea, China, such places, it's not so easy. That's called desha sambhava dosha. And finally, what are we bringing with us? This is like really loud echo. I don't know if it's a volume problem. Can someone adjust this? Because it's very hard for me to hear myself. Maybe you can hear me, but I can't hear. Dravya desha atma sambhava doshas is the 3rd category. Atma sambhava dosha means your kusamskaras. We're bringing things from our last residue, psychological film from our last previous lives. What kind of life was your last life? There are Deva Gana people, and there are Rakshasa Gana people, and there are different kinds of people. Some people are coming to the human form first time from animals, and they have all this animal thoughts in their subtle body, and they have to deal with that. And when you sit down to chant japa, all those things come out. What do the animals think about? I want to have sex. I want to eat. I'm angry, I want to fight, or I want to at least defend myself. Multi-billion-dollar industry in security nowadays, isn't it? Cyber security and home security, and because this is the defense principle, it's animal life. When we come to the human form of life, then we start thinking about dharma. Atato dharma jignasa, Jaimini Rishi says in Purva Mimamsa Sutra. And then when you come to Uttara Mimamsa, what does Vyas tell us? Atato Brahma Jigyasa. You should, if you have the adhikar, this is the point. If you have the adhikar, then you should inquire about Brahma, the absolute truth, Param Tattvam, Atma Gyan. But so many of us, we lack this adhikar, and some have no adhikar. So all these kinds of doshas are sitting within our hearts. But as soon as Bhagavan enters our hearts, if we let him in the heart through the ears, this is the door. This one Braj poet, his name was Bihari Lal, Bihari Satsai. So he said, if you jam the door shut, bolt it and lock it with case hardened steel, then how is Hari going to come into your heart? This is our problem. So the easy way to let the Lord into your heart is through your ears. But you have to actually make sure that it doesn't go out the other side. Because if he comes through the mind en route to the other ear, then he's going to see what is your response. And if you're not paying attention, if you're not interested, if you're chanting during commercials or something like that, then he's just going to say, okay, this one's not really interested. I think I'll go find some better place to sit. So, it should come into the heart. If we allow that to happen, it means we're pious. And if we're not pious, we should not lose heart. This is discussed at length in the 2nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sridhar Swami points out that we say that a person is freed from all impiety by hearing and chanting, but sometimes we see it's very difficult for people to hear and chant. Just go on doing it every day. This is the prescription. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya means not only, actually Nityam means, Anantaram, no gap. Should be constant. Kirtaniya sada harihi. But if you cannot do that, then come you should, every din, pratidine, you should chant this Harinam. And Sankhya Purvaka. 16 rounds is the ideal. Not the ideal, actually the ideal is constant, but is the minimum for initiated disciples. So, for those who are eager to perform bhajan, he's giving a benediction, and he's soliciting the holy name's blessing for all of us who are not yet eager to perform bhajan. Rupa Goswami says, there's one price only that we have to pay to become Krishna conscious. What is it? Laulyam. Really intense. You have to just want it bad enough. What do you want? Why are you here? What is that song from Kabir, I think he says? Where have you come from? Where are you going? Have you thought about this? Well, why are you here in Vrindavan? Why you become a human being? What is the purpose of being a human being? What are you making of this facility that you have? This is called Shreyas. And noble persons, pious persons, advanced persons, Aryans, like Arjuna, they're concerned about this. What do we hear from Arjuna in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita? Dharma samurha cheta. His concern is not kama samurha cheta. It's dharma samurha cheta. This is a pious person. So these persons can chant nicely. But even if we're not so pious, chanting itself will purify us if we do it every day. And if we pay attention at least, inattention to the holy name. It is the pramada. It is the cause of all the other offenses against the holy name. We hear from Padma Purana, Satam Ninda Namna. Anybody know the verse? Satam Ninda Namna Paramama Paradham Vitanote Yatha Kyatam Yata Katamu Sahate Tad Vigaraham Shivasya Shri Vishnor Guna Namadi Sakalam Dhya Bhinnam Pashyet Sakhalu Harinama Hitakaraha. The holy name cannot help a person who is committing these kinds of offenses. Criticizing saintly persons, that's number one. Especially those persons who are dedicated to glorifying the holy name. How can the holy name tolerate it when those persons are reviled? This is the question that was raised by Padma Purana. And how can the holy name tolerate it when you criticize a saintly person, especially a devotee? And if you think that the holy name is the same thing as Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma or any gods, Durga Devi, they're all the same. That's also an offense because they're not all the same. These demigods in general, there are always exceptions to every rule, but in general these demigods are conditioned souls, just like we are. They're much more advanced, there's no doubt. Very, very powerful. Be careful how you deal with them. But nevertheless, they are also conditioned souls, for the most part, with rare exceptions. And what else? We have to not ignore the orders of the spiritual master or think less of the spiritual master. That's another one that's very common. Guru Ardavagnya, Shruti Shastra Nindanam. And we shouldn't blaspheme either the Shrutis or the Smritis. Sometimes people think, oh, Manu Smriti, that's for some former age. This is blasphemy. It's not what Prabhupada's books say. Shastra Yonitat. You have to take your learning from the Shastra. So, Tatharthavado, Harinamne Kalpanam. To think that all this glorification that we've heard tonight about the holy name, if it's just imaginary or maybe it's exaggeration just to get you to chant, No, it's not like that. You open the jar of honey and taste it, and you will experience. I've been doing this for a few decades. What inspires a person to continue with this chanting for that long? There has to be something there. Just like I was saying the other day about Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. I read so many Bhagavad Gitas before. I read Bhagavad Gita as it is, Yatharup. And I thought, the first time I saw Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, I thought, this is very presumptuous title. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Well, there's so many, how can you say that? But then I read it. And after I read Prabhupada's Gita, then I realized I actually didn't understand anything from Bhagavad Gita by reading all these other editions. Kyon? Because the editors of those editions also didn't understand their own editions. Evam parampara praptamimam rajarshayur viduhu. The way you understand this, Krishna says in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, is you have to receive it in parampara. Paramparagat cheez hai. So Srila Prabhupada was such a transparent via media, and he was representing the message as it is. And in the subsequent 4 or 5 decades that I have been reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, I've also read all the Sanskrit commentaries, major commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, and I've seen, lo and behold, everything that Prabhupada is saying is coming from these predecessor acharyas. And that's not the case with other editions of Bhagavad Gita. To is Bhagavad Gita mein koi vishesh shakti hogi. Ye vishesh shakti kya hai? Bhakti shakti. So Srila Prabhupada was surrendered to Krishna. He was a bhakta, and therefore, bhakto sime sakhacheti rahasyam hyetaruttamam. Therefore, he can speak with authority, Bhagavad Gita yatharupa. So, in the same way, this holy name, it has to be received properly. Otherwise, we will not understand what we're doing. And Shruti Shastra, Tatartavado, yes, we think that this is just exaggeration. It's not an exaggeration. Just as there's a special Shakti in Bhagavad Gita that you can read Bhagavad Gita as it is and get some tangible benefit. So in the same way, if you seriously apply this process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you will receive very obvious, very tangible, palpable benefits. So, Harinam Nikalpanam means we should avoid speculating about the holy name. Sometimes there was one devotee in the early days, he somehow fixed up some apparatus with a picture of Krishna in front of him while he's chanting japa, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That artificial, not necessary. It's a speculation. So to think that the holy name is, just like one commentator, he said, Krishna means dark, dark means something unknown, therefore Krishna is the unmanifest, unknown, avyakta something. This is not right. This is kalpana. So we should avoid that. And nam no balad yasya hi papa buddhi. This is, Prabhupada said, very major thing that all of us have a tendency to do that we should monitor very carefully. We have a tendency that, it's okay for just one time I can do this thing even though it's not allowed. And then I'll just chant seriously and I'll become purified again and aage padhein. Doesn't work like that. That is a parat. And Krishna is not going to take us very seriously if that's our attitude. There's a story about this. One gentleman, not a gentleman, he actually was a rascal. Whole life he's going without doing anything pious at all. And he's doing everything sinful. And he has no guilt about it. Modern society will encourage guilt-free mentality. So be careful of the association that you embrace. So this man goes through his whole life like that, but somehow or other, one day he's walking by the temple, and he just happened to have 5 rupees in his pocket. He thought, let me just give something to God. So, okay. Then he continued with his sinful life. Nothing happened. Koi badana nahi. So finally, at the time of death, he was taken away, and they took him to Yamaraj, and he said, I know I've made some mistakes, and I didn't have the best facilities, and it's kind of hard, life is difficult, and we all have our excuses. Go visit Tihar jail, and you'll find every single inmate there has a good reason that they're not really a criminal, but just somehow by force of circumstance. This is our mentality. We have the same idea. We actually are criminals. We are criminals. The sooner we admit it, the better. So this man, he said, let me take you to Vaikuntha and see what they think up there. So they took him to the gates of Vaikuntha. At Vaikuntha, the Jai Vijay came to the door and said, yes? Oh, he said, I know I made some mistakes and I had some wrong turns and unfortunate association and I'm a fool and everything, I admit. But remember, one day I went in the temple and I put some 5 rupee note in there. So maybe I can get in. So they looked at him and they said, just wait a minute. So they closed the doors. He waited a few minutes. Jai Vijay came back. He's holding a 5 rupee note. He hands it to him and says, Lord Narayan says, take your 5 rupee note and go to hell. This is the result of namno balad yasya hi papa buddhi, to deliberately commit a sinful activity that you know it's wrong. Fir bhi. This is what a Duryodhana mentality. What does he say? Janami dharmam nachame pravritti, janami adharmam nachame nivritti. Nivritti. You see, I know what the right thing is, but I just, I can't do it. And I know what the wrong thing is, but what to do, Everybody has their excuse. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, the Christians say. So that's a serious one. And then what else? Namno balad yasahi pababudhir. Navidyate tasya yamayr hi shuddhihi. If we have that mentality, then you're not even going to be purified when you go to Yamaraj. Navidyate tasya yamayr hi shuddhi. Or you can say, yama, if you take it as discipline, that even all your disciplines and every other thing that you do that's good, sacrifice, yajna dana tapas, chaiva ityadi, it's not going to help you. Navidyate tasya yamayr hi shuddhi. It won't purify you, at least. It may help you. You can go to a higher prison cell, but it's not going to purify you. So, what is the solution? Dharma vrata tyago hutadi sarva shubha kriya samyam. If you consider that all this stuff is the same as chanting the holy name, your dharma, your hota, your hutas and your vratas and your tyaga, ityadi, you shouldn't equate them with the holy name. They're not at all equal. This is the point that's being made here by the commentator. And he quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam. Mantratas tantratas chidram desha kalarha vastutaha sarvam karoti nishchidram anusankirtanam tava. Who's speaking this? Shukracharya speaks this. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing mantras and observing regulative principles and so on with regard to time, place, circumstance, and paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. You can't say that about anything else. You cannot say that about performing your dharma. You cannot say that about performing some yajna or performing some tyaga or some vrata. It doesn't work like that. The holy name is mercy. That is the difference. It's not a ritual. It's not a mechanical process or a bribe. This is what we do. Dehi, right? Dhanam dehi ityadi. This time of year. So the holy name is different. Sridhar Swami explains that Bhagavatam verse. We may pronounce problem, just like I said in China. they can't even pronounce properly. Have you ever heard them? Hale Krishna, 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 Hale Lama, 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 Hale. But that's okay. If they're sincerely trying their best, then Vishnu takes it like this. Narayana, look at Ajamil. It doesn't matter, even if you pronounce it wrong. It's like the Americans, mostly you hear the, what is it they say? Nashringa. Nashringa. It's a new word. Not horns. So, TK. There may be discrepancies of time, place, and circumstance, or, you're not necessarily offering any dakshin to some priest who's performing a ritual for you. That's okay. But these things don't affect the holy name at all. You're clean or you're unclean, it doesn't matter. If you chant the holy name, everything is purified. This is the point. So, pramada, we mentioned, you have only to be attentive. This is another one of the offenses. Ashraddhane vumukhe prashrindati yashchopadesha shivanama aparatha. The all-auspicious holy name is not accessible if you are trying to preach to someone who's not ready to accept it. Don't force people. Krishna says this also. Joshayet sarva karmani. You encourage them to whatever they're willing to do, but don't try to push them into something that they're not willing to do. We all have relatives, don't we? Sometimes relatives can be a problem. When you first join Krishna consciousness, what's the tendency? Let me share this with all my relatives, right? And what's the first thing you find out? Oh, they're not really so interested necessarily. Often that is the case. So do not push. You'll not help them, and you will hurt your own advancement if you try to force this holy name on someone who doesn't have faith. Instead, you create a situation in which that person does have faith. Let them hear the holy name however possible, and give them prasadam by all means. Never underestimate the potency of prasadam. A very, very powerful thing. Books, Harinam, and Prasadam. These are Srila Prabhupada's, you can say he has a trident that, to fight back with against Maya's trident. So, Ashrindati Ashtopadesha Shivanama Paratha Ashradhathane. It doesn't work. Finally, what is in many ways, the most essential offense that we have is the last one, which is Shrutva api. Even av Shrutepi nama mahatmya priti rahito naraha. If you remain devoid of love, real love, even after hearing all these glories of the holy name, then it means you're an offender. That's why this is your acid test. If you want to know, am I a criminal, in fact, or not? This is the acid test. Do you remain non-devotional, even after hearing all these glories? If so, it means you have a criminal heart. Ya priti rahito naraha. He's a man who has a heart that is devoid of priti. This is our unfortunate condition. We have to recognize. Once we recognize, then we can begin to do something about it, and it's very easy to do something about it. All we have to do is humbly submit. My dear holy name, I am an offender, please help me. And we fix our mind to the best of our ability, and Harinam will help. He will help. He is 100% responsive all the time. Do not doubt it. Sometimes we experience, this is where our doubt comes from. We're asking Krishna for something and he doesn't apparently he doesn't respond, but he actually does respond all the time. This faith we should cultivate. He may not respond when we want. He may not respond in the way that we want or expect, but he is responsive. Everything that happens is, one English poet said, whatever is right. We have nothing to confirmed. We have nothing to complain about, because not a blade of grass is waving in the breeze without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. Whatever your situation is, He's arranging and He's caring for you. Trust that. If you're chanting His name, He's not forgetful about you. He's responsive. So, do not remain priti rahita. Just take up the holy name sincerely and He will do everything. We already mentioned, sarvan hariti chittasto, all these three kinds of flaws, He will remove them. Bhagavan Purushottama. Once He's seated there, once you have enthroned Him in your heart, Him ka matlab kya hai? Hari nama. Hare nama eva kevalam. So, what is the symptom of our disease? Aham mamadi paramo. Aham mamadi paramo. The supreme thing for most of us is me and mine. This is our primary concern, whatever situation we find ourselves in. I'm the main character in this drama. All these other people are just supporting cast. my, meri bat parama. Hey. So, we all have this mentality. So this is the symptom of somebody who is priti rahita, according to Padma Purana. It's making noise. Ya priti rahito naraha aham mamadi paramo namni sopya parada krita. These 10 offenses are described in Padma Purana. So I should finish here. We've only gotten on the first word so far. Second word, kalimala. All this ugliness of Kali Yuga we've been describing, three kinds of doshas. It can all be cleansed out instantly by this Harinam. Kyon? Pavanam pavananam. It is the active ingredient in anything cleansing. More than your, the best soap that you can get. Indian soaps are stronger than Western soaps. I've noticed this. It's just, they're very, very strong. I guess they have to be. But, so these are three things. The most auspicious thing, the purifying agent, like you can say the active ingredient. You buy some tablet. What is the active ingredient? That's the real thing. So the active ingredient in all things auspicious or purifying is the holy name. And therefore, kalimala matanam, it destroys. Matanam means it kills all the contamination of this age. Now the second thing, pateyam yan mumukshoho sabari parapada praptiye prochamanam. The mumukshus, those who want liberation, they declare that this holy name is everything you need for your journey. You've all come here how? Maybe by train you've come. Maybe you've come on the plane. Maybe no Jains here. They walk. But somehow you've come here. So you took something for the trip, I assume. Maybe you packed some tepla or some roti or something. That's called pateyam. And the mumukshus, those who want liberation, they say that the provisions that you require for this journey to go back to Godhead, there's only one provision you require, and that is this holy name. For these 7 reasons, this is the only thing that you need. Pateyam ko bolte hain. Therefore, Vishramastanam ekam kavivaravachasam. For the best of all the poets, this is the one topic that they choose. Who are the best of the poets, according to our commentator? The best of the poets are Vyasadev, Shukdev Goswami. Of course, we have also Sridhar Swami, all the way down to Srila Prabhupada and his sincere followers. This is the one topic that they choose. That's why I chose the topic tonight. It's the only one necessary. The Srimad Bhagavatam, I believe it's the final verse. Nama sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranashanam. That pranamo dukkhashamanas tam namami harim param. The final word of the Srimad Bhagavatam is also glorifying the holy name. So, and jivanam sajjananam. Who are the sajjanas? Sajjanas here, according to our commentator, he glosses it as sadhujanas. Those who are actually saintly. For them, the holy name is Jivana. It's life itself. Why? Because their lives depend on the holy name. We all depend on oxygen, especially around Diwali time. So, and we all need to eat. Everybody eats pretty much every day. At least you don't go very long without eating. Water you need. These things we consider essential because we're on the Annamaya platform. We think we're this body. But once we recognize who we really are, then we recognize that this holy name is my breath spiritually. Without this holy name, I have no life. Madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam, Krishna says, madchitta. Madgata prana. What does it mean to be madgata prana? It means to give your life to this holy name. Give your life to this holy name. That's not an easy thing to do, as we mentioned in the beginning. Just to do bhajan is not so easy. What to speak of actually giving your life? So this is another glory. For those who are actually sadhus, sajjananam jivanam. This is life itself. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, we hear that he's saying there are so many people are here. I think it's on Duryodhana's side. He's acknowledging these men. They're all ready to give their lives to me. Tyakta jivitaha. They've already given their lives to me. If you can give your life to a person like Duryodhana, why not give your life to Srila Prabhupada? Give your life to Krishna, in the form of his holy name. Jivanam sajjananam. Therefore, bijam dharma drumasya. Bijam dharma drumasya. What does that mean? Of all things dharmic, this holy name is the seed. It's another way of saying the same thing that we've already said. Pavanam panithanam ityadi. So what does he say in the commentary? Dharma eva drumo virkshas tasya bijam utpati sthanam asyaiva sarva dharma padakatvat natu kriyantaratvat ekaika dharma padakatvam. When you perform other things, we discussed already, dharma, huta, vrata, tyaga, ityadi, these things will give you only a specific result. If you do Durga Puja, you will get a specific result. If you offer something to Ganapati, you'll get a particular result in a particular way according to your prayer. But that's not the way the holy name operates. The holy name operates, if you do anything for the holy name, he gives you the results of all purifying things. He gives you the result, the ultimate goal of all these pious activities. He gives you that thing. That's why the Shastras you find in so many Phalashrutis, they say, if you hear this pastime, you get all material facilities and you also go back to Godhead. Don't know. Why? Don't know. Because he's like this. This is his nature. Krishna is so kind. So this is why it's called the Dharma Drumasya Bija, the seed of the tree of Dharma. All things dharmic only come from this holy name ultimately. That is another way of saying that bhakti is the real pious situation. You're not really that dharmic unless and until you come to bhakti. This is the point. It is the essence. Sara. So sarva dharma padakatvat, on account of its conveying or conferring the results of all things dharmic, therefore it's called the bija of the tree of dharma. So these are 7 things that we can discuss about the holy name. There's a lot more to be said. There's a lot more to be said about this, but the time is short. I'm not keeping track, but maybe I should stop here. But if anybody has any questions or any comments on anything that we've said so far, we can try to address that. Yes, Prabhuji. जोर से बोलिए, because नहीं तो अगर yeah, you have microphone? Good.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. I have one question, Prabhu, that are committing sins on because of Hridaya Daurbalyam and committing sins on the strength of the holy name. Can you explain about these 2 points, Prabhu? Are the same or different?
I didn't hear the first phrase.
Hridaya Daurbalyam, because of the weakness of heart or the
Yes, okay.
which Bhakti
Mistakes. Apichet suraracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak ityadi. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, a person who even he commits the most abominable things, apichet suduracharo. Durachato ek cheez hai na, but suduracharo is very much so. Very sinful, very bad things. Fir bhi sadhureva samantavya. Krishna says this. It's a fact. We have to understand the full implications of this, and the commentaries on that verse are extensive. But the point is that if accidental fall down, if you're learning how to walk, it's natural. When you're a child, or say riding a bicycle, when we were children, you fall. It can only happen like that. You're going to fall. It's not negativity to recognize this. But you get up and you keep going, and you do not fall deliberately. The premeditated crime is punished in the legal proceeding more than just, manslaughter. First-degree murder is much worse charge than involuntary manslaughter, correct? So accidental fall down, this can be excused. But if you plan something, or if you deliberately do something that you know is wrong, then that's not excused, sir. You have to pay that bill. Iska phal bhogna padega zarur, khaskar Vrindavan mein. So be very careful. Is that clear enough, or do I need to say more? Theek hai? Yes.
Hare Krishna. The mind wanders a lot. So any tips from you?
Easy thing. How to concentrate, because the mind wanders. We've recognized that already. You go to bed early. Simple solution. What does it mean? If you go to sleep early, then you can get up early. If you get up early, then you chant nicely. You cannot chant. It's very difficult to chant after work, which everybody does, I'm sorry to say. Or worse than that, on the way to work. There are people who chant bus rounds or train rounds. How is that going to work? You have to get up, you have to invest a little bit. You have to invest. And the investment happens in the early morning, still quiet hours when there's no distraction. Then you can focus. And it's been my personal experience also that if you chant all your rounds in one go, that is the best thing. Then once you get a momentum going, then it's very easy. And, then sab khatam. And then you carry out your day, and you can think clearly, and you can be productive, and no stress on the mind. Otherwise, if the rounds are still there at 10 o'clock at night, then how can you have any peace or progress? So go to bed early and rise early. If you have health, count your blessings. Health is wealth. And do not jeopardize your health also. Prabhupada actually said, health is your number one priority. What is your second priority is sadhana. Second priority, health is the first. Chanakya Pandit also said, if you lose money, koi badi baat nahi, kyunki you can always earn money back. If you lose your health, that's a problem because it's not so easy to get your health back, but you can. But if you lose your character, everything's finished and it's hopeless. So health is a very important thing. You should take care of it. Going to bed early and rising early, that also facilitates health. And it facilitates spiritual health as well. So get up early and chant your rounds. And if you can chant your rounds with other devotees, that is also very helpful. Otherwise, what is the tendency? We've seen. But if you are with other devotees, then there's some enthusiasm is generated. But it's always going to be a struggle in the beginning only. After some time, when we push through the process of anartha nivritti and get a taste, then there's no problem. No obstruction. I always give this example like a J-curve. Biologists know about this. When there's no natural predators in an environment, you introduce some foreign species there, it just takes over everything because there's no predators. So anartha nivritti functions a little bit like that. If we push through the process of anartha nivritti, then there's no longer any obstruction, and we can zoom back to Godhead. So you have to focus on that initial hurdle. The initial hurdle of Krishna consciousness is the stage known as anartha nivritti. It's the third stage. First is faith, second is association. In that association, automatically we're engaged in chanting and other things. And then that automatically guarantees anartha nivritti. Is that a helpful answer? Yeah. Indians never go to bed early, that's why I said this. Dinner is at 10:30 at night. Not helpful, yes. You can find an Indian who swims sooner than you can find somebody who goes to bed early. Grass, you have to be more tolerant than a tree. You should not expect any respect, but you should be very eager to give it. That's not so easy thing to do. Work on that and see what happens.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So my question is, in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, Krishna gave the taste of devotion. Krishna gave the taste of devotion.
Happy Diwali. Giriraj ki. Okay, try now. Ab koshish karo. Yeah, just
So,
George said.
in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, Krishna gives the taste of devotion.
Krishna?
But gives the taste of devotion.
Yes.
But by gradually by time, the taste reduces.
Trying to actually adopt this process, we notice that taste is waning somehow, and it's not so easy things. There are many ways to answer this question. I'm just going through my mental files, trying to figure out which one would be the most juicy. But thing is that Krishna is very tricky. He's cheating us, actually. He gives you any advertiser will give you the up front, just like your dudh ka bhaiya. You're getting good milk at a good price, but the milk is starting to get funny and the price is going up. No, Krishna actually doesn't work like that, but we have very deep-rooted anarthas that we don't even realize. And we start to see them. And when we are chanting, especially after some time, Cheto darpana marajanam. That's one analogy. Another analogy Prabhupada says, it's like sweeping a room. When you sweep a very dirty room, what's the first thing that happens? A very dirty room, as soon as you start sweeping, what happens first? Is it clean first? No, all the dust it makes a huge mess. This is what it's like for us in the beginning. We should take it that we should be encouraged by this. Something is happening, something's coming out. There's a lot more to go, for sure, but something is happening. Just stay the course, be strictly, keep good association, give up bad association, and sato vritti. Be pure in your habits. And then hote, you'll see that everything becomes very auspicious. It takes a little time. This is the point. So we have to be patient. It's not that Krishna is deliberately trying to cheat us, although he does do that also. But You know, the real thing has to, I mean, he has to give us an initial trailer so that we get attracted. And then once we're attracted, then he can enlighten us that, Baba, you have some work to do. This is the thing. This is the reality of our situation. As we said, namni sopya paradhakrit, we've established that we're all criminals. What do you expect? Not so easy. But consider that we are at least so fortunate that we are attracted and we have adopted this process. All we have to be is patient and determined, and everything will come. That you will see. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, he gave a very powerful lecture once, I remember, in Delhi. He said, you know, you just look and see. Those persons who get up early in the morning, they go to Mangalarati, they chant their 16 rounds, they avoid non-devotional association, they take only Krishna Prasadam offered to the Lord, and they're reading Prabhupada's books. These people get a result that people who don't do these things do not get. Yatanto yoganashchainam pasyantyatmanyavasthitam. What is that? Chapter 15, Krishna says, those who are following the process, they get the result. Those who are not following, they don't get the result, even though they try to understand. They don't. So you have to actually just follow the process. And Narottam Das Thakur has made it very easy for us by making a nice formula. What does he say? He says, Guru Mukha Padma Vakku Chiteti Koriya Aitya Arana Koriya Mani Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Eishe Uttama Gati Je Prasade Pure Sharva Asha. So beautifully put. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wrote a Sanskrit commentary on this Bengali song. That's how much respect he had for Narottam Das Thakur. And this is why Srila Prabhupada asked us, every day you chant this song and really get into the meaning of those words. It is so deep. It is so deep. In Gaudiya Math, they don't chant Guru Puja like this every day. They do it once a year only. Srila Prabhupada told us to do this every single day. There are certain things, certain realizations that Srila Prabhupada had about the nature of this modern age that precipitated the instructions that he gave us. This is one of them. Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. We're attached to these three things. Study his fabulous purport to Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 10. 4.10. Bookmark that and please read it. Only Srila Prabhupada could have written that purport, and it only could have been written in the 20th century. Prabhupada understood the modern mentality, and this is why he told us you have to worship the spiritual master every single day, otherwise you won't get it. And this song is the one that's going to give us the greatest clue as to who this bona fide spiritual master actually is and what we can get from him. Je prashade pure sharva asha. So, I don't know, I'm kind of rambling now. I hope I've answered your question. Tigrega? Okay. Yeah, yes. I'll just shout. What is the exact reciprocation of the holy name? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told us these 7 points, no? The heart becomes purified and all auspiciousness comes into our life. Cheto darpana marashanam bhava maha davagni nirvapana. We feel some relief. Holy name will give that. We get realizations. The holy name will do that because as the heart becomes pure, the vision becomes clear. Anandam buddhivartanam. This ocean of Krishna conscious ecstasy just keeps expanding because of the holy name only. If we're not chanting, we're not going to get the same result out of this whole ISKCON phenomenon. You have to actually follow the process. This is what we're saying. Anandam buddhivarjanam. Pratipadam purnamradasvadanam. And eventually we come to that stage where at every step, everything is just total ecstasy and rasasvadanam. Why? Because it's sarvatma snapanam. Atma. Atma ka matlab kya hai? Deha or man or jivatma. Yateen. So atma sarva snapanam. Sarva means all three are purified like this. How do you purify the soul? The soul is already pure. This question may arise. This has been stated here in today's verse. Vishramastanam, Mumuksho sapati pada para prapta ye prochyamanam. We are situated in our eternal constitutional position. You may not get that without the holy name, without Krishna consciousness. So, from Shraddha all the way to Rati, or Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. That's another verse you should study. Canto 3, chapter 25, text 25. Satam prasangat mama virya samvido ityadi. All this stuff happens through the holy name. We come from Shraddha to Satsanga to Bhajana Kriya to Anarta Nivritti, and then we get a little bit Ruchi, Asakti, like this. Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and finally Prema. So it happens gradually, that's a fact, but all of it happens if we just continue. That's why I told him, just continue. Is that satisfactory? I mean, the first thing that, like he was concerned, first thing is that we're seeing a mess. First thing is we say, oh my God, my heart is so dirty. I didn't know this stuff was in there. What do you dream about at night? You don't have to answer. Think about your dreams at night. That's a pretty good indicator of the general condition of your subtle body. And yam yam vapi smaram bhavam jajantyante kalevaram tam tamevati. That's where you're going. It has to become that we're dreaming about Krishna at night also, or at least dreaming about preaching. If you're selling books all day about Krishna consciousness and you're dreaming at night about fine. That's perfect. We have no objection. Prabhupada has written about this in the 10th canto as well. This is samadhi, to be totally absorbed in book distribution. That is doable for us. We can do that. Ras Leela, everybody's thinking they're going to find Krishna here in Seva Kunj or something like that. Some people come here and they go and they try to spend the night there just to see, No. You're going to see Krishna in a bus station or airport or wherever you go to distribute books. That's where you're going to see him. Why? Shri Guru Charana Padme. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Satma. The house of Bhakti, the Bhakti only resides in these two lotus feet. That we should know. That we should know. Jahara Prasade Bhai. E bhava turiya jai Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. So the holy name does all this. The holy name only. It's his mercy in Kali Yuga. He's come in this wonderful form. So kind he is. And we have been given the process by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has made it very easy and explicit. And it's been explained to us and encouraged by Srila Prabhupada. We have nothing to want. We have everything required. All we have to do is, as I said, you unlock the door, let the holy name in, and make sure it goes down, not out, into the heart. That's all. That much effort is required on our part. If I give you a cup of nectar for free, but you have to lift it and put it to your lips, and there's many a slip twixt to the cup in the lip, as Shakespeare said. So we have to be careful to avoid offenses. But otherwise, everything has been given free. Namo Mahavadanya has given this. Take. All right, I don't know what the time is, but there's another question, so we'll keep going.
Hare Krishna. So even after endeavoring, most of the time our chanting is inattentive. So is it better to chant more with somewhat inattentive chanting, or is it better to chant less but being attentive?
Neither one. It's better to chant more attentively. Like we said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told us already, Kirtaniya Sadahari, that's the actual instruction. You should chant 24 hours a day constantly. Don't sleep, don't eat. But we can't do that. Okay, so 64 rounds theek rahega. But we can't do that either. Okay, 32 rounds. No, we can't. Less. This is a history. There's nothing, I'm not making anything up here. This is Prabhupada's experience. His Guru Maharaj considered anyone who is not chanting 64 rounds a day has fallen. By that consideration, all of us are gone. But for the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, okay, I'll take you, even you can only do a quarter of the needed. See? See the point? Yasya prasadan, bhagavat prasado. As long as we have a sponsor for our soul in the form of this pure devotee who's willing to give us this special dispensation, the very least that we can do is try to fix our mind. Yes, it's difficult, of course. We've already decided we're filthy in our minds. We're filthy in our hearts. What do you expect? It's going to be easy. But the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. I think it was Confucius said. You got to start somewhere, so you start where you are. And Krishna will definitely help. He always does. Prabhupada said, if you take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes how many steps towards you? 10. Or, he said, Bengalis have this saying, God has 10 hands. You try to give something, 10 hands. And you try to hold back something, 10 hands. What are you going to do? So this is Krishna's position. He is the most wonderful personality, omnipotent personality. So infinite quality, wonderful qualities, Sarvaishwarya. All wonderful qualities. And he's willing to reciprocate with us, but it's going to be on his terms. It's going to be on his terms, not ours. That's the only thing that's hard for us. And even that's only because we're infected. Infection. Kya kare?
प्रभु जी
इसको भी बंद किया जाए पंखा यही वाला
Prabhuji, how we define surrender toward our spiritual master and guru?
What?
How we define surrender towards our guru and Krishna?
Very easy. How do you define surrender under Guru and Krishna? The last word of Shvetashvatara Upanishad tells us this. Yasya deve parabhaktir yatha deve tatha guru tasyaiti katatha hirtaha prakashanti mahatmanaha. What does it mean? Don't make any distinction between Krishna and Guru, in terms of their authority at least. One is Bhagavan and one is Jiva, that's true. But, you should have equal faith in both and equal dedication to both. Prabhupada also answered this question. He said, it's very simple. You simply surrender to Krishna. What does it mean? You follow the instructions of the spiritual master, as we said already. Bas. It's very simple, but it's not necessarily easy, but it is very simple. We just, whatever we hear from Srila Prabhupada, or from Srila Prabhupada means from his books, we have to apply that in our life. That may or may not be easy, but it is very simple. Because it's so simple, anyone can do it. And there's no bar. It will be easier, as we said in the beginning, if you're pious, But even if you're not pious, you can still do it. Anyone can. There's no prohibition. No, no one is excluded. But that means simultaneously that no one has an excuse. It means you have to do this. So that's what we have to work on. The only thing is to rectify our own dogged determination to avoid Krishna while exploiting his property. This is our program. This is the criminal program that we've been discussing. We are in this world trying to exploit Krishna's energies while we're all simultaneously trying to evade his authority. That is our criminality. So that's what we have to work on. We have to recognize that, and we have to just try to do the right thing by the potency that the holy name confers upon us. We've been discussing this. Prabhavatu bhavatam bhutaye Krishna nama. This is Rupa Goswami's blessing. May that holy name provide you with all auspiciousness. This is what it is. Is that okay?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you for enlightening on the holy name. In this connection, always I came across with the question that what is the exactly meaning of Satatam Kirtayanta Mam, that Bhagavad Gita shloka?
Satatam kirtayanto mam yathatma dhranashchaya. What is the meaning of that?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Devotees who are sincere, they're always engaged in glorifying the Lord, and with great determination. Namaskyantaschamam bhaktya nityukta upasate. They're bowing down. Very simple thing. Like Krishna says there are 4 things, twice, he says, that we have to do. Manmana, pavamad bhakto, madhyaji, mam namaskuru. And the prominent in all of these is chanting Krishna's name. So it's very simple. Satatam, that's the hard part. Satatam. We tend to turn off Krishna at 9 a.m. and proceed to the office. And then we accumulate contamination throughout the entire day. And then since we haven't finished our rounds, we come home and we try to undo the damage that's been done all day long with these kinds of, grade Z japa. It doesn't work so well. So, Satatam kirtaya yatatma drishanishchaya means we have to somehow muster out of our own hearts by the blessings of others, and we continue. Satatam kirtayanto mam. I should say sam kirtayanto mam. Samyak kirtana. Samyak kirtana means total kirtan. Total means not only is it out loud, but it's with other persons. That's the best thing. But even if we can't do that all the time, then at least we always have a tongue and ears. Even if you only have one ear, still it will work. It's a simple question, so it's a simple answer. I hope it's sufficient. Yes?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a very wonderful class. So deep, even the kirtan which you did. I've been hearing you for many years, and it was a great fortune to have you here.
Thank you.
My question was, you just spoke about Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. So now, those who joined in the early days, when the second generation, in the sense that after Srila Prabhupada, his disciples started initiating, there are many devotees who joined early and they could have their personal association. But now we are going through a situation wherein the disciples, they hardly even get to meet the spiritual master.
I know, they come to me for help.
Yeah, and even if they come, it's like a very busy schedule, because many of the initiating spiritual master, they are also in various other services to their own spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. So, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. So, So
How
how
is
do
it-
we look at it at a personal level?
Yeah, how does it happen?
One way what I understand is that by the mercy of His Divine Grace, there is a very simple process from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada has given to us is the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya and then Srila Prabhupada's purport, and he has very clear instruction how to serve his mission. How to serve his mission. And Prabhupada's purports, his letters, his conversation has so much of details that there is no doubt to how to serve his mission. And one of the way I personally feel is to take the anxiety to serve this mission is just sufficient. Everything is fulfilled in that. But I wanted to hear from you if you could elaborate for a new devotee who takes initiation from a initiating spiritual master, but is not able to meet him now personally.
Yes, it is a problem. The standard answer, to the point of, I'll go so far as to say the hackneyed answer, is that we have this Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, Diksha Guru ke abhav mein, then you can go to the Shiksha Guru theek rahega. But that's not the answer I'm going to give tonight. I didn't get very much of Srila Prabhupada's association. In fact, because I joined when I was very young and in the later part of Srila Prabhupada's Leelas. I only saw him in his last visit to Los Angeles in June of 1976, and even then, I didn't actually have any personal interaction with him other than to offer flowers and listen to the class. And I saw him, and that in itself is memorable, permanently imprinted in the samskars by God's grace. But so I had been reading Srila Prabhupada's books for quite some time before I came to the temple and saw Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada's, mainly I've had the inspiration coming from Srila Prabhupada's books because he wrote his books in such a way that they would have that effect. The problem is that in 2022 especially, nobody reads any book other than Facebook. And what to speak of religious books? So this is the problem. There's a joke about this in English. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Just leave it as it is. Shrink wrapped and everything. Sometimes we go into people's homes. Yes, yes, I have Bhagavad Gita. Show me your Bhagavad Gita. They haven't even removed the plastic wrapping. Isko Bhagavad Gita as it is, bolte hain. It should not be like that. Prabhupada worked very hard. He worked so hard to write these books. Do you realize? Maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep every night for 10 years? Could you do that? Raise your hand. Those of you who are only getting 3 hours of sleep every night, raise your hand. Nobody. Nobody can do this. But Prabhupada did this. Who did he do it for? Krishna doesn't require it. We required it. He was so soft with compassion that he was doing this. And at the same time, he's trying to establish this worldwide society and, guiding so many disciples, and so many of them were half crazy, and, it's so difficult to do. Have some gratitude. This is one of the things I hear from Radhanath Swami all the time. He emphasizes gratitude. Recognize what a favor you've been. Kritagnya, we say in Sanskrit. Kritagnya. To be aware of what somebody else has done for you. Kritagnya. This is what we need to develop. And it's from my experience I'm speaking. If we take the trouble to open these books and read them, then we realize what we've been missing the whole time. What I was looking for, it's all right here, but we don't know that until we do it. Yatanto yoganashchainam pasyantyatmanyavastitam ityadi, as we already quoted. Unless you pick up the books and read them, you don't understand what it means to read these books. We don't have any idea what support is there within these books. And so many devotees, they tell me this same thing, that if we, sometimes I have some problem, I just open a book anywhere, I just open it anywhere. And there's the answer right there. Krishna arranges. And the best thing is if, Srimad Bhagavata, if we hear the Srimad Bhagavatam in the company of other devotees. Vaisheshika Prabhu, my god brother, he's now in Govardhan, doing that very thing, 8 hours a day. When he comes to Vrindavan, that's what he does. He's not running around, and you won't find him in Loi Bazaar also. But he's sitting with devotees, studying Prabhupada's books 8 hours a day, because he understands what the value of these books is and what an investment is required in order to make advancement and perfect human life. I talked to him the other day. He told me 40 pages a day, that's just the bare minimum to keep your head above the water. That's his level of taste. Mad chitta mad gata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantasya mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. It's a flaw in Sanskrit to be redundant. But the final line of that verse looks to be redundant, does it not? Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. To satisfy and to please. But the acharyas explain there's a difference. Tushyanti cha means at the stage of sadhana bhakti, when I'm striving to become a real sadhaka, as we've said in the beginning, when we're trying to develop some eagerness for real bhajan, at that stage, we should be satisfied that we have the facility to do so. It's not granted. Do not take it for granted, because it's not granted to everyone. We also mentioned that in the beginning. Most of this world's population doesn't have the opportunity that we are taking for granted. So tushyanti cha means we should be satisfied that I have this and take advantage of it. Then, when we do become mature, and when we actually develop real love, bhakti, then ramanti cha. That is the Purnamrita Rasasvadanam that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu promises. All this can come, but it won't happen unless we read Srila Prabhupada's books. This is my own experience. I can say that. I've had some good association. In particular, I was trained up mainly by Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who is Prabhupada's right-hand man. You know that. But, it's not like everything is not in the books. Prabhupada said that repeatedly. And even in the 1970s, Prabhupada was criticizing that you people think that the books are only meant for selling. You don't think that they're for reading. You have to read these books. Everyone, please, make a vow here in Vrindavan today on this auspicious event that I will read Prabhupada's books every day, even one verse. Theek rahega. I'm satisfied with that. I can't say Vaisheshika will be satisfied with that, but I'm liberal. So, please do this. Please take it seriously and read Prabhupada's books. You will be surprised at how much guidance you get. You will be surprised at how much you learn. You will be surprised at what a taste you can develop. Not a taste, addiction. Srila Prabhupada translates this word asakti as addiction. It's a positive addiction, not a negative addiction. Addicted to Krishna. Prabhupada said also about bona fide gurus. John Lennon, I think, the famous musician, he asked, how do we recognize who's a bona fide guru? And Prabhupada said, you just find the person who's most addicted to Krishna. At that time, I think John Lennon was addicted to heroin or something. So Prabhupada knew this. He was staying in his house. Anyway, read Srila Prabhupada's books. Everything is there. Prabhupada said this so many times, and he criticized us for not reading. So have some gratitude, open the books, and just see the wonder.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It was a very nice answer. And also, while you were speaking, when I was trying to observe you, I was remembering Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I saw this video, God's Competitor, more than 100 times, and you have a very similar accent. Thank you.
Well, we're both Americans, that helps. Wastav May, he's from New York. That's a very distinctive accent. I'm on the opposite side, California. But, yeah, I guess it all sounds the same. Okay, so if there's no more questions, then maybe we can adjourn for the night. Ab kitne baje? Kya? Okay, that's not as bad as I feel like it is. Okay, so thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vansha kalpatarubhishya kripasindhu bhyayevacha patatanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful session, such clear answers and such motivation to chant the holy name sincerely and read Prabhupada books. So we would like to thank once Prabhuji by loudly chanting Hare Krishna, Hare